All that changed in January of 2009 when I was cut off from the banks. That's when I learned about private money. And you know what, Steve? I've never missed out on a real estate deal since February 2009 for not having the funding. Actually, what's going on in today's market, there's more money than there are deals.
That is a statement. An audience, if you're not in the business, I'm in the business of funding.
Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness.
Shout out to my sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, so why not optimize it? Just text optimize to 72000, 72000 for instant access to 6 quick videos that help you think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer. A big thanks to Epic App, the 4-step storytelling system I use every day to connect and to convert. Try it free. Email me at stever1961@gmail.com. That's stevr1961@gmail.com, and I'll get you the free app. Doing Business with a Servant's Heart was just named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm so excited to have you on. We're going to talk about investing money from a servant heart's perspective. How about that? Money and a servant heart. They do go together. Before we start and bring our guest on, I'm going to bring my gratitude card for today. The hardest battles are often led to the most beautiful victories. Don't you want to raise your hand and say, I love a victory? Sometimes you got to fight a battle, and that's okay. So let's move on. Let's start. Jay, I want to welcome you to the podcast.
Steve, thank you so much for inviting me to come along and talk about the subject and topic that I'm so passionate and excited about, that being private money and private lending. And why is that? Well, my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we started investing in single-family houses all the way back in 2003. The first 6 years, 2003 to 2009, all I knew to do was rely on local banks and mortgage companies. All that changed in January of 2009 when I was cut off from the banks. That's when I learned about private money. And you know what, Steve? I've never missed out on a real estate deal since February 2009 for not having the funding. Actually, what's going on in today's market, there's more money than there are deals.
That is a statement. An audience, if you're not in the business, I'm in the business of funding. That's a powerful statement because it's hard to get funding. It's just not easy. I've been doing it myself for 18 months with my partner, Max. How do you serve your private investors? What's your best way of doing that?
Yeah, and by the way, I love the name of your podcast, With a Servant's Heart, because in my community, my members of my private money lending community, real estate investors that are wanting to learn how to raise private money, I tell them all the time, this is all about serving. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about serving a private lender or serving a seller of a property or serving any of your contractors that you're doing business with and all of your team members. So how do we serve? Well, when it comes to the world of private lenders and private money, you know, it's really interesting, Steve. When I started out doing business with private lenders all the way back in 2009, I really thought that I needed the private lenders more than the private lenders needed me and my company. But you know what I found out is that it's actually a win-win scenario. Carol Joy, my wife, and I, we have received so many handwritten thank you notes for letting our private lenders know about this opportunity. You know, we've got 47 private lenders funding our deals, and none of them ever heard of private money or private lending until I put figuratively my teacher hat on my head and I taught them about this world of private money and private lending and how they can earn high rates of return safely and securely. They'd never heard of this. They'd never heard of what a self-directed IRA company is. Well, a self-directed IRA company is a company that's approved by the IRS that allows a person to transfer current retirement funds. It might be a 401k, it might be retirement funds that are in the stock market, and they can transfer those funds into the self-directed IRA company with no penalties, no tax consequences, and then they can be a private lender loaning the money out to us real estate investors, and the money we pay them is tax deferred or tax free, depending on the type of account they've got. So we serve our private lenders by, first of all, exposing them to an opportunity they never heard of. How do we also serve them? We give them higher rates of return, much higher rates of return than they can get, say, at the local bank. We also serve our private lenders by getting rid of the volatility of the value of their investment. I'm contrasting to the stock market. You know, when someone invests in the stock market, then there's volatility. The value goes up and down. Well, in this world, someone loans the money and it's just like them putting money in a certificate of deposit at the local bank, but they know they're going to get a much higher rate of return safely and securely. We also serve our private lenders by giving them a way in the promissory note to get their money back early prior to the note coming due in case they have an emergency come up. We also serve our private lenders by not borrowing unsecured funds. We collateralize all the notes, so if the deal went sideways, they get the property and they are secured. We also serve our private lenders by naming them on the insurance policy in case there's some kind of a claim against that property. Well, the check from the insurance company is made payable to them in addition to us, another layer of security. And we also protect and serve our private lenders by naming them on the title policy as an additional insured. So they get all the security that a local bank or a mortgage company would get.
And you're building their retirement instead of from a 401k or an IRA, whatever that vehicle is. You come to your vehicle, you're giving them more money for their retirement, but they also have safety because they're liquid. Liquid means, audience, that they need access for $50,000 to repair something at the house. You've built in a system where they can do that. That is a heck of a way to serve people. This is selling, Jay. I know people listening like, well, he's really selling. You absolutely are, but how you selling differently than the person that's just pitching me?
Well, we're not selling, we're not begging, we're not chasing, we're not persuading. It's back to the title of your show. We are serving. That's why I never have to ask for money. I never ask for money. I share with them the opportunity, and my community that, is coming to my world, real estate investors, they do the same thing. They share the opportunity. And if they have investment capital and or retirement funds, then now they are chasing us. Because we pay 8%. 8%. Where else is someone going to get a secured investment like this and get 8%? Well, it's not going to be at the local bank. It's not going to be, in the stock market. I mean, the only security you got, and it is a security, the only security you got is a stock certificate that you never get to see anyway, right?
Yes.
So our private lenders love this opportunity because it's real estate that is backing these notes.
Now I call this referring through people. I want you to explain that with your Wayne story, because, and I'll let you do that because that's what I tell people. I do that all the time. Hey, Joe, I've got this thing. Do you know anybody interested in this? Here's what I have. And they're like, over here, I'm interested. So tell the story about Wayne. I think people need to hear that.
Sure. So when I was cut off from the banks, which I was back in 2009, along with the global financial crisis, and most real estate investors were cut off from the local bank and having revolving lines of credit, I learned about this world of private money. And so the first thing I did was I put my opportunity together. What interest rate am I going to pay? How are we going to secure our private lenders? And, what's the opportunity look like? And so it was on a Wednesday night at Bible study that Carol Joy, my wife, and I went to, and we've been going there for years. And I walked in the foyer and I was looking for Wayne. Now, Wayne and I had known each other for a number of years. And I walked up to Wayne and I said, Wayne, I'd like to visit with you confidentially for a few minutes after Bible study. And he said, sure, that'd be fine. So we got together and we walked into the nursery and I shut the door. And here's exactly what I said to Wayne. I said, Wayne, you know everybody in this town. And he did. He was the original Zenith television dealer. Now, if you don't know who the Zenith television dealer was back in the day, that means you are too young to remember life before Walmart came to town. And, today you buy a 70-inch TV for $299, and if it breaks, you throw it out in the dump and you go buy another new one for $299. Well, that wasn't the deal back in the day. The Zenith television dealer sold you your TV, and it was in a great big cabinet with speakers on either side. It looked like a piece of furniture because it was. And when your TV broke, your Zenith dealer would come to your house and repair your TV. He would finance your TV for you. Well, Wayne was the Zenith television dealer here in Morehead City, North Carolina. And he'd put all the TVs in the hospital and all that kind of stuff. Very involved in the Rotary Club, very, very well connected. So I told him, I said, Wayne, you know everybody in this town. And I said, I need your help. I said, Wayne, I've now opened up my real estate investing business by referral only. And I'm now paying insane high rates of return to people that invest in my deals and loan me money on the real estate. I said, when you run across somebody that is unhappy with the returns that they're getting in the local bank or maybe in the stock market, would you refer them to me? And he said, well, now, Brother Jay, what you got going on there? What kind of rate of return are you paying? And I said, well, Wayne, are you saying you might be interested? And he said, yeah, I might be interested. I said, well, why is that? He said, well, I'm only earning 3%, and that's what it was back in 2009. He said, I'm only earning 3% in the local bank, and I'm losing money in the stock market. I said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And then he asked me again, he says, what kind of rate of return are you paying? And I said, Wayne, that sort of depends on the deal. I said, what sounds high to you? He said, well, I don't know, we're earning 3% in the bank. He said, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6%. And I said, Wayne, I can't pay you 5 or 6%, but I can pay you 8%. He said, put me down for $250,000. And so the next afternoon, I went to his and his wife's home here in Morehead City, and I laid out the entire opportunity. How are they protected? What's the loan to value? It's a conservative investment, rate of return you're going to get, how you can get your money back in case of an emergency, etc. Well, after 2 cups of coffee that afternoon, that $250,000 became $500,000 that they wanted to invest. And so I told them I would put their money to work for them just as soon as possible. And then I called them back up in 2 weeks with what I call the good news phone call script. And I gave them the good news. I could now put their money to work. And Steve, what's so critical to understand about this story is most real estate investors are taught stinking thinking. And what they're taught is get the deal under contract because supposedly the money is supposed to show up after the deal's under contract. Or they'll say, money finds good deals. Well, I do the exact opposite. Think about how many more offers you're going to make on real estate when you've already got the money lined up and the money's burning a hole in your pocket, right? How much more confident are you going to be? How much more clarity are you going to come across with? And so the Good News phone call gets all of my deals funded 100% of the time because I'm not calling up my active private lender saying, hey, I got this deal. Do you want to do it? That's the most stupid thing in the world I could ever ask. Of course they want to do it for 3 reasons. Number one, they know I'm not going to bring a deal that doesn't fit the criteria of the opportunity that I already, lined out. They trusted me and told me they want to, do this. And thirdly, they're not making any money until I put their money to work. So separating those conversations of the opportunity and then having a deal for them to get involved in is critically important. You're not chasing and begging and selling and persuading, you're serving.
Beautiful. I know people listening are going, okay, this sounds very interesting. Do you have a floor that you take for investment, that somebody can put into this platform?
Minimum? I'm sorry, Steve, I didn't quite hear
What's
you.
the minimum? The minimum?
Oh, the minimum. Yeah, the minimum is 50,000. So 50,000 is the minimum. And I've got private lenders of those 47 people from 50,000 all the way up to, I've got one private lender. Actually, I got 2 private lenders that have over $1 million that they are loaning out and investing.
And these people can continue to, as things happen, more money comes in, they can continue to add to this fund as they want.
Oh, absolutely. They always have more than they tell you.
Yes. Yeah, because we're going to test you out. And once you prove yourself, like, okay, the door's open. We're going to open the door for Jay because he's doing great things. Well, this is awesome. Audience, we'll get his contact info so you can reach out. Let's talk about your book. I'm very excited about this book. Tell us all about it.
Sure. So this is my national best-selling book, Where to Get the Money Now. And the subtitle is How and Where to Get Money for Your Real Estate Deals Without Relying on Traditional or Hard Money Lenders. So when we say hard money lenders, that's institutional money. Hard money lenders raise money from private lenders, private investors, and then broker that money out to real estate investors. So we're not talking about hard money. We're talking about doing business with individuals that are looking to get a high rate of return safely and securely. So I'll autograph the book. You can get it at Amazon, but don't give Amazon $20. I want to give you the book for free, just covers shipping. I'll autograph it. I'll rush it out to you express delivery, and you can pick it up at www.jayconner.com/book. Again, that's jayconner.com/book, and I'll rush it right out to you. I'm also going to include 2 tickets to my upcoming in-person live event. It's called the Private Money Conference, and I'll send you all the information about that as well.
And where will that be located?
Right here in Eastern North Carolina, in person, not a virtual option. We hang out together for 3 days straight.
And the dates on that are so people can know.
I'm sorry?
What's the dates on those?
So we've got this year in 2026. The one that's coming up is February 25, 26, and 27. February 25, 26, and 27. And after that is going to be in June 2026. And the dates in June, let me pull that up, are June 10, 11, and 12. June 10, 11, and 12. And then the third conference, the Private Money Conference, is in October 7th, 8th, and 9th. October 7th, 8th, and 9th.
And we'll put that in the chat, audience. Don't worry. So you have access, and I'll make sure it's there. Again, that was October 10th, 8th. Say that again. October
7th, 8th, and 9th.
7th, 8th, and 9th. Good. And we'll get that to you. People coming to the conference, What are they going to get?
Wow. Well, of course, I teach a lot about private money, how to
Okay.
raise the private money without ever asking for money, how to grow your network very, very quickly if you want to scale your business. But I also teach at the conference all four pillars of our real estate investing business: how to find motivated sellers of properties before other real estate investors even know about the opportunities. Secondly, funding deals. Next, we go on a rehab renovation bus tour and go out in the field and actually look at the properties that we are renovating. In addition to that, I teach how to sell any property in 3 days or less, so you never have to worry about being stuck with a property that can't sell. And then, in addition to that, I teach automation. How in the world can you run this business literally in less than 10 hours per week so that you're not replacing, some job that you're working 40 or 50 hours a week with another 40 or 50 hour a week, career. So that's all about automation. And then I bring in my entire team and I have sessions with my real estate attorney at the event. And you learn how to work with your attorney. We have our interior designer, Beth Garner, that's been with us for over 20 years, doing all the design work for the renovations. And then I've got my general contractors and my crew leaders. And then I've got my acquisitionist that talks to all of the motivated sellers. So you learn how to put a team together so you can automate the business without having the business run you, and instead you run the business.
Powerful. I love that because we don't have to recreate the wheel. So if you're out there and an investor, he's built the wheel. We just need to go and watch and listen and learn, and you take the wheel and run it yourself. That's what a servant heart does. You're taking care of the people, you're showing the way to do it and make sure everybody wins. It's powerful. The other part, yeah, not that you're doing enough already, is you have a podcast. You got over 800 shows. Audience, I love podcast hosts. Tell us about your great podcast.
Sure. Yeah, we've got over 800 episodes. We're in our 8th year. And the name of the podcast is Raising Private Money. So all of the podcast platforms, wherever you like to listen to your podcast, it's easy to find Raising Private Money with Jay Connor. And we do 2 shows a week. And we release early on Monday mornings and early on Thursday mornings. And I'm always interviewing other real estate investors that have raised a lot of private money. And so I interview them and learn strategies as to how they go about raising private money for real estate.
I know it's going to be a tough question. I know when I ask my podcast host, it's hard. You got a favorite story you could tell us of a guest?
A favorite story, my lands, I got a lot of favorite stories.
I
One of my
figured you
favorite
did.
stories is the Wayne story that I just shared. But if you could help me figure that out, Steve, as far as what topic or arena of a story.
Something where this investment just changed their life, where it was life-changing and they never thought this would happen.
So I'm thinking of Eric and Erica Carmadale. Eric and Erica Carmadale live in Poplarville, Mississippi. Population less than 2,000 people. And Eric, for years, he's probably in his, late 30s right now. Eric, for years, was working for the railroad. And he would drive 1.5 hours in the morning to his job, working for the railroad. And then he'd drive 1.5 hours in the evening back home. He and Erica have 4 children, and they had no free time whatsoever. Well, speaking of the Private Money Conference, Eric and Erica came to the Private Money Conference, I guess it's been now about 4 years ago, to learn about private money. They had started doing some real estate investing, but they had run out of money. And, the local bank and the mortgage companies, they weren't loaning them any more money. So they came to the Private Money Conference. And in 7 months of attending the Private Money Conference, Eric retired from the railroad, stopped commuting 3 hours a day, and his wife was able to start homeschooling their children, which they wanted to do. And within about a year, They had already raised over $3 million in private money and private funding and became full-time real estate investors after starting to work with me and my team for only 7 months. After 7 months, they went full-time real estate investing, and they have got, I don't know how many private lenders they've got. I know they've put on about 12 private lender luncheons over this period of
Jeez.
time, and they are enjoying life. They got control of their life. They got their life back. The reason I share that story, Steve, is because it's those stories that are so meaningful to me and my wife, Carol Joy, to where we've been able to be a part of transforming their lives and getting them to where they want to be. I also think of Crystal Baker. Crystal Baker was making 6 figures a year as a occupational therapist. She was overseeing multiple clinics, and she promised herself that she would never take her kids through the fast food drive-through line. Well, she found herself doing that one night at about 9 o'clock. She was making a lot of money, but she had no life at all. And she made her way to the private money conference. And in less than a year as well, she retired from a high paying occupational therapist. And she now has over $4 million in private money that she's raised. And her kids now are also homeschooled, staying at home. And it's those kinds of stories that give me and my wife, Carol Joy, a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
God bless you. It's going to get me out of bed just knowing those stories. Here's the other thing that you're doing. I want audience, for you to know what Jay is building is legacies. Those two stories, what's their legacy going to look like 30 years from now, 40 years from now, when they're 70s and 80s with grandkids, having all this money to enjoy life, which I don't know the numbers now. I think it was 80% of seniors are broke, are struggling, and can't even afford senior homes because of the cost and all that. You're building wonderful legacies. It's
Yes.
powerful.
It's all about making a difference and giving back.
Amen. And yes, there's money involved, audience, but there has to be, because it's what value is. That's the value of it. You bring value to them, the value comes back to you. Transformational. I love that. Well, we're coming to the end here. I love to get to know you a little bit more. So I'm coming to Raleigh. I'm going to reserve a table at a restaurant. Me and you're going to sit down for dinner, but I want you to invite 3 people who've been influential in your life. And those 3 people can be dead or alive, doesn't matter. But also I'd like to know, because I'm a foodie, what food are we eating for the table at the table?
Well, if you're coming to Raleigh, North Carolina, I know where we're going to dinner. We're going to the Angus Barn, in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's been there since about 1960. And I'm going to order the beef ribs. I mean, they look like brontosaurus ribs. And they are the best steakhouse in Raleigh, North Carolina. And who am I going to invite? Well, you said 3 people. Well, in addition to you and me, I'm going to invite my father, Wallace Connor. He just turned 92 years old on Christmas Day. He used to say, "Me and baby Jesus, same birthday." Anyway, well, my dad, 92 years old, he's still in the middle of developing a new housing development with 350 houses at 92 years old. One of these days, I'm going to say, "Dad, can't we go to the house?" But Dad was such, and still is, such an inspiration when it comes to business. And so many lessons I learned from my father. One lesson he told me is if you have a transaction, never do the transaction unless everybody is winning. Another thing he would say along those lines is always leave meat on the bone for the other fella. Always leave meat on the bone for the other fella. Another person I would invite to dinner is my grandfather, Raymond Simmons. He's passed away, but he was the biggest spiritual influence in my life. Biggest spiritual influence. He was an elder in the church. I watched him in the evenings. I was up at my grandmother and granddaddy's house every weekend because they lived out in the country, only 3 miles away from where I grew up. And I watched him in the evening. Every evening before he went to bed, he was in the den reading the Bible before he went to bed. And he'd call me in there and he'd say, Jay, I want you to read this verse and tell me what it means to you. What do you get out of this verse? So he was my spiritual leader. The third person that I would invite is Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield is the co-author or the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series way back in the 1980s. And I got to meet Jack in person and spend 5 days with him 10 years ago. And I became one of his certified trainers for his breakthrough event. And he wrote a book called The Success Principles that has had a profound impact on my life. The Success Principles book has got 65 principles in it. And the very first principle is be 100% responsible for everything that happens in your life. That's the foundational principle that affects all the other success principles in that book. So I highly recommend Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles.
Beautiful. And real quick, as we get to the end here, how can people reach out to you again?
Oh, yes. The best way to reach out to me is let me mail you my book, or you can download the PDF. www.jayconner.com/scripts for that PDF, $1 Million Script. And I'll mail you my book, jayconner.com/book, and it'll come to you in the mail, express mail. Believe it or not, the United States Postal System is still in business.
Thank God. Well, thank you again, Jay, for being a wonderful guest. God bless you. I support you 100%. Audience, share this out. Subscribe to YouTube channels, podcast, but use this as a gift. You know an investor, send this podcast out, and I guarantee you they're going to want to reach out to Jay, and you just impacted their life, and you brought them value. With that being said, me and Jay want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see everybody in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.